Good morning on Native Ground. I'm Anasita Augustinus and I'm at the Yarra Hotel at Sundance Film Festival 2011. We are here with John Akomfrah, who is the director of Nine Muses. Good morning, John.
Morning.
So happy to see you and meet you.
Thank you very much.
So how are we receiving, the audience receiving your film?
I'm very surprised at how well it's going, because the subject matter is so European. I thought people might struggle, but it's going really well. We're having a great time.
Now you've titled it Nine Muses.
Yes.
Any particular reason other than the references, of course, to Homer and the various Iliad journeys?
The title of the Nine Muses came about because I was interested in trying to do something about the memory of my people, our 5-6 decade journey to Europe. And it was when I was researching it that I realized that the Nine Muses were daughters of Mnemosyne, the Greek goddess of memory. So I thought, well, how better a way of illustrating a project on memory than to break it up into the 9 different chapters. And that's how we ended up.
And do you have personal muses in your life that have brought you to this point in your career?
Yes. Calliope, the muse of epic poetry, is my favorite. I'm very interested in poetry. I'm interested in what we can use poetry to do in film. And so all references to any poetry is good for me, but the muse of epic poetry in particular, because epic poetry is about trying to say something about a people,
Wonderful. Well, as Indigenous people and on Native ground, our stories are always told in poetry. I think that's our first language.
Right.
And that's what really attracted me to your concept.
Okay.
And I do think that telling that story. Can you kind of explain a little bit about beyond that? I mean, your personal travel from being born in Ghana
Yes.
and arriving into
Yes.
where you're into London.
I'm born in Ghana, West Africa. My parents were part of that wave of migrants who left West Africa at the end of the war. My father came in the early 50s, my mother in the middle 50s. They went to England essentially to study, but ended up staying. And our story isn't unusual, I think about 1.5 million people made that journey sometime between 1949 and 1969. And this is really a film attempt to say something about those lives, because unless you speak for yourself, no one's going to do it. And many of those people who made those journeys are now either on their way out to their next life or have already gone. And so it seemed a good time to say something about their lives. It's part of our obligation to the dead.
Oh, wonderful. Can you let us know when our audience can expect to see your film in the movies?
We are trying very hard to get someone to buy it here, and I think someone will. So it will be shown outside of the festival in this country. But at the moment, there are 3 more screenings of it at the festival. And
I know they've all been received very, very well.
Yes, they have. We're very, very grateful to the festival. It's a good platform for us.
And what about future projects?
I've got 2 things that I'm doing at the moment. I'm going back to the art gallery where I work a lot as well. I'm doing something with a man called Stuart Hall, who's one of the founding fathers of cultural studies. So I'm doing an art project with him, and I'm trying to do something about the history of the Black Panthers in exile. The story of how you had these chapters of the party in Paris, Algeria. So I'm trying to do that as a kind of documentary.
Oh, that would be very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Now, can you tell us, I understand that you're an officer of the Order of the British Empire. What does that feel like? and your family reaction, that just must be...
I tell you, it was so strange. Because look at me, I don't look like a knight. I don't even feel like a knight. But, they called up, they sent me a letter, and I thought they were joking. They said, you've been chosen to be an officer of the British Empire.
But that's breaking more boundaries, and that's wonderful.
I suppose so. Well, certainly I wasn't going to do it. I wasn't going to accept it, but I spoke to the elders in the family, and they were like, look, we made this journey for you to get here. You're part of a continuum. You should accept it. It's about a kind of state acknowledgement of
Exactly.
what we've achieved. So,
Exactly.
so I accept it.
I know, no, and it's wonderful because it does give hope to Native filmmakers all over, Native,
Yes.
Indigenous, to any
Absolutely.
person of Indigenous blood on any land.
Absolutely.
And we look at it as you're mentoring, not only your culture but all our Native cultures.
I believe so. I believe so because the film isn't just about people from Africa. It's several people from across the world, people from India and Pakistan, Cyprus, the Caribbean, all went to England at the same time, and they're all in our film. So it's not just about my quote-unquote people because I'm West African. I've tried to do something about migration of people of color from across the world to England.
You have so many poets from so many different eras in Nine
Yeah.
Muses.
Yeah.
I mean, going from Samuel Beckett to Emily Dickinson
Yes.
to
Yes.
Dylan
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
I mean, any favorite or any particular area?
Well-
Which chapter, if you were to say someone, take a look at the Nine Muses, which chapter is your favorite?
I don't have a favorite chapter. I have favorite sections.
Uh-huh.
Partly because they're the ones that feel closest to my experience. Because of course, most of the people I'm talking about are much older than me. These are experiences I didn't go through. But the bits around work or the sections on work, I feel particularly close to because I remember going as a child with relatives in the holidays because we had no nursery facilities with them to work, and you could just from the nursery room watch as they worked. It was quite something. I mean, it's frightening, but also kind of quite exciting as well, because this was really heavy machinery, So, and there was always the chance, the danger that somebody might get hurt, and several people did, So those are my favorite sections because I think I caught the spirit of those things that I remember from my childhood quite well.
That's interesting. Well, as you know, Native Americans, I mean, we have a story of migration, even though we're
Yes.
indigenous to this land. I mean,
Yes.
are you familiar with like Our Longest Walk, Our Trail of Tears? I mean,
Yes.
we've been, pushed and pushed and pushed, and so that had a resonating
Yes.
feeling for me
Okay.
personally with my
Okay.
family.
Okay.
And I was thinking, it's a universal story, so many ways.
Well, the Native American traditions, histories, stories were not unfamiliar to us. We were aware of it. And I remember kind of reading at the age of 17, I think, Wounded Knee, and then getting involved in understanding what had happened in this country. Because, of course, when you're younger, you don't really understand what's happened in this place. It takes a while and it takes some digging, So I hope this film would offer something to your people. I hope people find something of value or resonance in it for their lives here. And if there's anything we can do as filmmakers to aid a kind of mutual understanding, whether it's an exchange or whatever,
Oh, we'd love that.
you do let me know.
Absolutely would love that.
Be very happy to.
Because our On Native Ground is about fostering the youth and
Right.
having them be able to tell our stories.
Right.
And this generation is able now to do it, which is like, it's
Yeah.
really amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing that story being retold here at Sundance.
Right.
So to
Well,
get that acceptance.
it's kind of one of those interesting things, the areas of life where younger generations don't feel they can go into. And we have exactly the same dilemma in England. Young post-migrant kids don't feel the media is a place they can go because they don't see themselves in it. And so quite a lot of what I do is going around trying to encourage people to get involved, to learn the craft, to pick up the camera, to document their stories, their lives, to apply to TV stations for work, to film companies for work, to put themselves up as actors and presenters and writers, because I think the more of that happens, the more your culture gets.
And it's our culture. That's
Yes.
that's the beauty of
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
I know you're not just a director. I know you're also involved with the Black Audio Collective.
Yes.
What other interests or other things are you involved in terms of projects?
I teach a lot. It's always a pleasure to go into film schools to meet younger directors or would-be directors, to work with them. I'm involved in a lot of community campaigns, taking films to prisons and neighborhood centers and trying to just encourage the emergence of what we call a black film culture, not just a filmmaking tradition, but a filmmaking culture in which people get used to talking about images, either of themselves or of the culture in general. And for me, filmmaking isn't It's not an isolated event, you know, it's not something I do on the side. It's part of a general commitment to trying to make changes in our culture, in British culture, so that the questions of social justice, of equality, can acquire practical value in people's lives. You know, most of us still occupy the bottom layers of society. We need to change that. We need people to have the access to centers of learning, centers of production, and I see what I do as part of trying to encourage that development.
Well, I'm just so excited that we've had this opportunity to speak and
Thank
for
you.
you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you.
Because it's more than just a movie. It's about you and who you are and you know the essence you bring and you know having someone of your spirit and caliber is
You're very kind.
it's an honor. Of course, we're very honored.
You're very, very
No,
kind.
thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
And this is Anacita Augustinus on Native Ground with John Akrama.
This is John Akamfra. I'm at the Sundance Film Festival, a director, and I'm on Native Ground.